Hi, my name is Andy Malley and I'll be presenting Glimmer DSL for SWT tutorial number 4. So last time we went through how to build a tab folder with tab items within it, and we also built a Glimmer app that uses a custom shell. Today we're going to take those topics further in this next sample, Hello Layout. And this is a very important sample because it's going to cover a fundamental topic in SWT called layouts. So let's start this sample by launching it. And the first layout we're going to encounter is fill layout. So fill layout horizontal will actually lay out widgets horizontally, and it'll fill the available space completely till the end of the window, as you can see here in label number 10. However, if we were to pick fill layout vertical, it's going to fill the available space vertically instead. And that sample is simply just laying out 10 labels. That's it, whether it's horizontally or vertically. And you can see they're divided into tabs. So that's using tab items, just like the code that we saw last time. So let's take a quick look at this code. And you can see we have a tab item that has a title of fill layout horizontal. But then within that, there's a fill layout declared with a horizontal style. And inside it, there are extra properties, like it's got a margin width of 30. That means that the right and the left sides of it have 30 pixels of margin. And it's got a 40 pixels margin for the height, meaning the top and the bottom. And the spacing between the widgets that are contained within the layout is 5 pixels. So if we were to go below it, we'll see the widgets that are declared. So basically 10 times label. We have 10 labels basically that are declared underneath the tab item. And they're laid out using the layout that is declared above it. And layout, by the way, is a separate concept from widgets. Layout is its own thing. Let's move on to the next tab. So the next tab is fill layout vertical. And here it is, declared again. This is an alternative way of specifying the orientation. You can specify it through a property instead of an option. And if I were to go back up for a little moment, one thing to note is that those options in SWT are called SWT styles. It's something that I did not cover yet, so this is the first time we encounter them. However, sometimes we have an alternative way of specifying them using properties. And again, we have 10 labels that are declared, and this time the labels have a center SWT style. So even label has an SWT style. So whether it's widgets or layouts, you could use SWT style symbols basically to customize widgets or layouts. So that pretty much covers the first type of layout. Let's move on to the next one. So I'm going to relaunch the application. So let's go through row layout horizontal. Row layout is basically laying all the widgets out in a row. That's pretty much what it is. And then if we were to do row layout wrap on shrink, this one is not trying to fill all the available horizontal space. However, if I were to resize the window, see how it wraps, basically the widgets will wrap on shrinking of the window. And then if I go to the third one, this one is laying everything out vertically. So the name is a bit of a misnomer. It's more of a column layout, or maybe, well, they're actually all forming a single column in a way. But basically, the difference between this and the fill layout is that they're not filling all the available space. Every label is taking as much space as needed for the text. However, these things could be changed with options. So if I were to close that and go to this one, that was the third one. You can see here it's got a property of fill true. If I were to disable that for a moment and relaunch it, and then look at this one again, see, okay, now every label is taking as much width as needed for that label only. So in order to learn more about how to customize layouts with those properties, what I recommend is to check out the SWT Javadoc. So if I were to go to the browser and show you the SWT Javadoc, It basically is a full comprehensive API of all the widgets and layouts in SWT. So these are all the layouts that are contained in the org Eclipse SWT layout package. And if I were to navigate to, for example, row layout, you can see immediately it lists all of those customizations. So I can check wrap as false or true. Is it packing all the space available? Does it use justify, etc.? And you can read about all the different options in full details over here. So this is highly recommended for actual application development, is to check out the SWT Javadoc. So let's move on next to the third type of layout, which is grid layout. So I'm going to relaunch the application and check out grid layout. And you can see that this one is laying things out differently in a grid. And sometimes the cells are spanning two cells horizontally, sometimes they're spanning multiple cells vertically, etc. So in fact, this one is spanning cells horizontally and vertically. So this is just a full demonstration of the grid layout, which is in a way the most customizable layout. So you could think of layouts sort of on a spectrum. Fill layout is the simplest, row layout is a bit more sophisticated, and grid layout is the most sophisticated. And these are the three most common layouts in SWT. There are other types of layouts that are a bit esoteric, like form layout, but they're rarely needed. And if I were to go to the last tab, this one is just saying grid layout, non-equal columns. What that means is, if you see here, we have two columns. We have a column that shows labels and a column that shows text fields. And the width of the text fields is different from the width of the labels. So we have two columns with non-equal widths, basically. Unlike here, where all the columns had equal widths. So again, to explain this in the code, if I were to scroll down into grid layout, there it is. You can see, you can specify the number of columns. You can specify whether the widths are equal. You can specify horizontal spacing, vertical spacing between widgets, as well as margins. And in the final example, you can see here that, let's see, there it is. This is a simpler way of specifying a grid layout. You simply pass the most important properties directly as options. And in this case, it's not SWT styles, they're just arguments. So 2 is basically the number of columns, and false is basically specifying that their width is not equal. So this is like a shortcut syntax for specifying the grid layout. And again, you can learn about that in the documentation of SWT. So if I were to go back here to package, go to grid layout, basically all the widgets in Glimmer map to those constructors. So you either specify a grid layout with no args, or you specify it with 2 args. So again, if we were to go back to the code, this one is taking 2 args. If we were to go back up to the previous one, see this one takes no arguments. So this is giving you now an idea of how the Glimmer DSL maps into the SWT API, which is very good in order to get you used to the SWT syntax and be able to read and parse the SWT Javadoc quickly and translate it into practical code with Glimmer DSL syntax. One more topic that we need to cover that is very important is layout data. So under each layout, so here you have properties that apply to all widgets that are nested within the element, for example, the tab item that has the layout. However, sometimes you might want to customize things for a specific widget. So here we have a label that has its own width and height specified. So it's got a width of 120 and a height hint of 40. Here there's another one where we're saying, okay, span 2 elements horizontally. Here's one that says span 2 elements vertically, and also try to fill all available vertical space. And we already saw those when I launched the example earlier. Here's one that spans vertically and horizontally and grabs all excess space horizontally and vertically as well. I'm sorry, actually, it only spans horizontally, but it tries to grab all available space vertically as well. So, I mean, these are basically the things that we saw here. Like this one has a specific width, so that's why it's clipped. It's not going all the way to the end. This one is spanning two cells horizontally. This one is spanning multiple cells, probably vertically. So, so on and so forth. You'd have to read the code to figure everything out, but that's pretty much a good overview of how layouts work in SWT. And that's pretty much it. That covers everything regarding layouts in SWT. If you want to learn more, simply check out the GitHub project and check out as well the SWT Javadoc.